Hi, I'm Corinne Cursor, and I welcome you on Cycles of Healing Souls. Last time, with Dr. Scott Mandelker, we talked about consciousness and its relationship with energy. We also talked about the perception of linearity and duality, but also about consciousness as a form of light. So, we went deep into the discussion, and it also brought more questions, as you can guess. So I wanted to continue in this direction and focus this time on the way light manifests itself. So today, in this second interview with Dr. Scott Mandelker, we are going to talk about colors and vibrations, sounds and mantra, all being different aspects of light. Also, an interesting point is that during that interview, Scott shared some interesting views on the use of mantra. So if you're interested. So I hope you enjoy this material and find something useful for yourself. Thank you for listening. So welcome back, Scott. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
Last week we talked about some very heavy subject. We talked about energy and its relation to consciousness. From my understanding of our talk at the time, it seems that you talked about two aspects: love, light, love being sentient, conscious, I would say mind distortions, and then the other aspect, which was light, energy, chakra, blockage, vibration. So I was thinking about continuing on that subject and ask you more about things linked to energy and vibration and colors, actually. That's something I have wondered, because moods of people can change when they enter a room, and so I was wondering, when people speak about energy, they sometimes speak about vibration and frequencies. Since all that is related to colors as a manifestation of light, I was wondering if it matters the colors that we are wearing here, because colors that we wear can change our mood, maybe. Colors that we see on other people can change our way that we perceive them, more aggressively or maybe in a softer way. What is your view about that?
Yeah, well, the colors of our clothing and the colors of other people's clothing technically doesn't change the mind, but it influences the mind. And so our mood would be influenced by the color of the clothing we wear. That's directly related to the frequency of light associated with that color as it relates to the chakras, and consciousness related to those particular chakras. So, if a person has a particular preference for colors, a strong preference or a strong aversion, that would be considered a sign of some issue associated with that chakra for that person. If a person has a certain strong reaction to certain colors, in general, that also indicates generally chakra blockage. Strong desire and strong aversion in general are basically the result of blockage. And so the color doesn't make the mind. I assume an enlightened person who's wearing all red, or if they're wearing all blue, wouldn't become less enlightened depending on the color. They would still be free of attachment or still be free of ignorance, regardless of the nature of the influence, the vibratory influence from the particular colors. But those really are influences. So if you go to a cold place the body reacts a certain way. If you go to a hot place, the body reacts a certain way. The mind, based on distortions or not, or the condition of distortions, would have different types of reactions to different colors. So yes, of course it influences. It's not determinative. It doesn't determine the mind. Two people wearing the same color may have different reactions. So it depends on that person. But yeah, of course, color influences us. The other day I was thinking about that also. When you see 7 colors, you can't say that one is better than the other. You can say, I like one color more than the other. I like indigo more than I like orange. You can say that. But that doesn't mean indigo is better than orange. They're just 7 frequencies of light, that are part of the laws of creation. When light is split, it goes to those 7 frequencies. There's no better or worse. However, they're different. And however, there is higher and lower. There is higher frequency and lower frequency. Indigo is a higher frequency than orange or yellow. If we're going to talk about a certain kind of wavelength or a certain angstrom length and the physics of frequencies of light, there is higher and lower. But that's not better or worse. But on the spiritual path also, there is higher and lower, although it's not better or worse. There's no better and worse, or better, good and bad. There's no intrinsic good and bad in the universe. But there is higher and lower. Higher is not better and lower is not worse. But higher really is higher, and lower really is lower, if we're looking on a certain scale. So if we're looking at angstrom length, or frequency length, or the physics, the quantitative physics of frequencies of light in the rainbow, they are different. And on certain scales, we can surely say higher and lower, more or less. Likewise with the chakras, there is higher and lower. Likewise with humans, there is higher and lower. There are people with more intelligence, there are people with less intelligence. There are people of higher purity, there are people with less purity. There are people of greater balance, coordination spiritually, and those of less. There are people who are more enlightened, and there are people who are less enlightened. But nobody's better or worse. And so this is a, derivative discussion from the simple question of do colors, do clothing color influence the mind? Of course, yes. But there's a lot of confusion in humanity and in spiritual groups and in the New Age scene about higher and lower. And, there are those who say higher is better and lower is worse. There are those who say there is no higher and lower, because they're assuming it's all, you're thinking judgmentally. To say higher and lower is not judgmental, it's discernment. And although you cannot say that indigo is better than yellow, surely indigo represents a higher frequency or some higher quality of energy, if we're measuring, than yellow. Likewise, there are higher beings who are more developed than humans. Likewise, there are higher beings who are more developed than other higher beings. Higher, meaning higher density, meaning a higher quality of light, or frequency of light, whatever that means, more in harmony with the reality of creation beyond ignorance. There are people who are more developed than others. There are people who know more than others. There are people who are more pure than others. But there's no better or worse, and there's no judgment there. There are people who are more blocked than others. There are people who are more honest than others. There are people who are kinder than others. But there's no judgment of better and worse. In the same way as indigo is a higher frequency than yellow, period. And there's a lot of confusion So when Ra talks about the requirements for graduation, they say that it's not really a question of maximal chakra development. It's surely not a question of higher chakras developed and lower forgotten. It's a question really of balance. And so it's not only a matter of green ray, fourth chakra, love activation, but also the balance of 135. And so one group says there's no higher or lower because you're judgmental to think that way. That's a distortion, that's a mistake. There really is a difference between indigo and yellow. Likewise, the people who say, yeah, indigo is good and yellow is bad, or indigo is high and superior and yellow is inferior and the lower chakras should be avoided, are also wrong, actually, because indigo is not better than yellow, but it is higher frequency. And so that kind of discernment, I think, is very helpful. The colors that you choose for clothing, it's, that's kind of a common discussion. Wear whatever you want to wear. And surely the colors we prefer have some relevance to what we, to our chakra consciousness development.
Yeah, well, what I was speaking is, do you think that a specific color that we adorn will have a change in our energetic field? Like
Definitely.
Black or white, or
Yeah.
a flashy yellow compared to a very pale green.
Absolutely, absolutely. There are some people who always wear brown. To me, wearing brown color is the most unattractive color of clothing I could imagine. But there are people who wear brown and they wear dark gray, and that's all they wear. Their socks are dark, their clothes are gray or dark or black or brown. That's where they're comfortable. It's not good or bad, but it does have a meaning. In this case, I think the meaning is that they don't want strong emotional experience. In general, the richness of color is a function of emotional intensity, or the nature of color as clothing, or the preferences, the beliefs we have around color as determining clothing choice, relates to the range of emotional expression we're comfortable with. Now, there are, fashion girls, 20-year-old girls who like pink nails and a yellow bag and flashy this and flashy that. You can say that they're comfortable with a range of emotion. They may be so. It doesn't mean they have intelligence or goodness or virtue or vice or whatever, but just in the whole sense of the the comfort range of emotional frequency. I mean, emotions are also bright or dark, intense or dull, wide or limited, the range. In general, the brighter colors are associated with stronger feeling, or more feeling, or a little more, it's like the word color, right? The word color, oh, it's a colorful life. He's had a colorful life. Why don't you add a little color to your life? Color means emotional richness. And that's the way nature is, you see. Nature is generally colored, meaning when you're talking about brown and black and gray, it's dirt, generally, or volcanic. Once you get above the ground, you've got yellow and green and orange, and you've got blue in the sky and indigo. And so yellow sun, white sun, blue sky, blue-green ocean, green trees, red, orange, yellow fruit, all of that. That represents kind of creative expression beyond the relatively motionless or colorless condition of earth, the dirt, the grok. Rock is not going to be generally blue or yellow or green. It's once you get out of the dirt, which is body or materiality without much consciousness. Out of the dirt means out of the color range of brown, black, and dark red. And that's root chakra. So the people who want dull colors, I don't mean, most clothes are dull, actually. That's because our civilization doesn't want that much emotional intensity also. But once you get out of the dirt, or root chakra related colors, see, these are root chakra related colors: black, brown, dark red. Once you get out of that, you get into the creative expression of plants and animals and the ocean and the sky, the clouds and the sun, all of which have more energetic vibrancy, vitality than the rocks that sit in the dirt. And so, for sure, the colors that people choose relate to their consciousness and chakra development. Colors influence the mind, and in general, the richness of color is an expression of a more creative consciousness, comfortable with a greater range of feeling, because there's more intensity to that, actually, than the brown, black dirt. But the people, where it really comes into play is when people have obvious strong preference or aversion. People with a strong preference or aversion have that based on certain conditions of mind. Chinese medicine also understands that in terms of colors people wear, colors that they like or hate, or have some stronger feeling to.
So, you spoke about influence of colors in mind. Do you think, because I was thinking about the Feng Shui. Feng Shui use, there's a lot of things in Feng Shui, and I think color is also part of it, a little bit. And I heard about people using color therapy also to help people. Do you think the use of color in general can help people to heal? Setting different rooms with different color. How can it be possible? Like, if you have a room that is totally white or a room that is totally blue, how can it help somebody?
Well, yes, I definitely agree or believe that color therapy works, and in intelligent presentation or exposure to color can be very therapeutic because of the chakra resonance, because of the vibratory resonance between the color frequency and that chakra consciousness. The consciousness associated with that chakra is influenced by the profusion of a single color. As I said in the raw group once, is that at Naropa Institute, Boulder, Colorado, they had the 5 Vajra family rooms as part of a Maitri, what they call Maitri, which is metta, basically means loving kindness, but some kind of a program, meditative self-development healing program that used their understanding of 5 primary colors and 5 what they call Buddha families, it's Tibetan Buddhism, for therapeutic process. So you had a yellow room and a green room, and you had a blue room and a red room, and the structure, the design of the walls were different. The rug, of course, was of that color. There was a light in the room on the ceiling that had that color. And then you would assume particular posture on the floor in that room for an hour and do meditation in that posture in that colored room. Color therapy basically is like delivering a greater voltage to that chakra. There are many forms of color therapy, but one form, like what you're doing in those rooms, is a focused stimulation of that chakra. So, and they were associated with 5 Buddha families in Tibetan Buddhism, and those had certain qualities of mind. Like, I believe they use the term ratna. These are Sanskrit words. And that was associated with yellow, I believe. And then in Tibetan Buddhism, in the Shambhala system, Chogyam Trungpa system, there are many meanings to Vajra personality, the Ratna personality. It's yellow, and so that would correlate to third chakra. And in many ways, it was very associated with personal expansion in the social sphere, personality, creative expression in society, in group or interactive process. And so everybody has second, third chakra blockages, yellow, orange and yellow. So let's say a person, like anyone, has particular third chakra yellow ray blockages. They go into the Ratna room, they get into the right posture, they do some practice for an hour in that posture in the yellow Ratna room. Now that would have an effect, I assume, of delivering very focused stimulation to the solar plexus chakra. Now that would have the effect of kind of stirring up the blockages. This has the same effect as music. It's exactly the same. People listen to certain sad music and they cry. Me too. Why? Because it vibrates the lower chakras that are associated with the distortions of old sorrow not yet expressed. The music literally resonates and vibrates portions of the body that are really associated with those chakras, of those colors, or of those frequencies resonant with the music itself. So there's music, basically the music that leads to expression of sorrow or old pain, a re-experiencing or catharsis. It's really cathartic. The catharsis of old grief as a product of second, third chakra blockages. That music is heart resonant. And so lovely, beautiful music is what leads people to cry. The crying is basically the old grief and sorrow that the person hasn't expressed. That comes the beauty of the music, the person's recognition, oh, it's beautiful music, is actually the fact that it's heart chakra resonant, green ray. And so listening to those sounds, which we subjectively can consider beautiful or lovely or sweet, is our description of green ray resonance. That green ray resonance then feeds back to the second and third chakras, or has an influence on second and third chakra activity, which has blockage. And it allows the release of the blockage. In the same way that people cry when they feel love, or they cry when they have some beautiful, happy moment. What is that crying? That crying is the release of old sorrow associated with second, third chakra blockage that only is cathected, coming out into conscious manifestation through the mind, through the body, by the greater heart resonance. So that can happen with beautiful music, that can happen with green color. In some ways, music therapy is more effective than color therapy. but they can be combined. In some ways, I would say that music is more embodied. You see, music comes in by the ears, but very tangibly resonates the physical body, right? You hear boom, 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 boom. You can feel it in your bones. So music, although it's coming in by the ears, which is fifth chakra, has a very strong relation to embodied condition. Color therapy comes in from the fourth ray, comes in the eyes, color, which is fourth ray resonant. So it's interesting, of course, that both of these forms of therapy are top-down, right? Music therapy by the ears, fifth ray. Color therapy by the eyes, fourth ray. Those are the fourth and fifth chakra correlates in the face. In both cases, having the potential to vibrate or add charge to blocked chakras 2 and 3. Fourth and fifth rays are, of course, one ray anyway, the blue-green center, the green-blue center, as Ra said. So what we're finding, what that is basically healing 2 and 3 by selective experience of 4 and 5, particular music, particular sound, which is transmission from, fourth and fifth ray, that then feeds back to influencing second, third chakra blockages. So, but the music therapy touches more body and emotion, and color therapy generally touches more mind and spirit. So, it's what I would recommend is start with sound music therapy and move on to color therapy. So music therapy or sound has a healing effect that's more tangible or coarse or gross or physical or material, body, emotion, more than sound, than color therapy. So it's just so funny because what's coming in from the fifth ray ears, which is sound, has more of an effect in the lower body or physical emotional. What comes in through the eyes, color therapy, has more of an effect on the mind, or in the higher mind, less physical. Not that many people see a single color and then cry. However, you can see a physical sight and cry. Right? Oh my God, it's such a beautiful sunset. Oh my God, the ocean is so beautiful today. I feel joy. Or I want to cry. Or I can't stand it. It's too beautiful. Or I can't stand it. I feel too much pain looking at this beautiful sight. So there's all sorts of interplay of fourth ray, fifth ray in sound and color as means of self-healing or releasing second, third chakra blockages. But in general, it's a more physical or material first level treatment to work with sound, and then refined by color. But in the future, or you see in fourth density, they don't need these things. In an enlightened 3D culture, they'd be using sound and color therapy. In the temples of old, in some cases, they were. In some traditions, like Tibetan Buddhism here, this application, they do too. But they're different, and then some people are more visual and some people are more auditory. And that's another story too. So sound and color are very akin. And in fact, it's actually understood from higher levels that every sound has a tone and every tone has a color. So, and there are people who have this kind of thing called synesthesia. It's basically a blending of the normal senses. They can see sounds and they can hear colors. It's very possible. Higher beings do that. And so everybody has their own vibratory note, or this note, the tone of the soul, people people say. That's because vibration can be perceived as both color or light and also frequency or sound. But they're the same, actually. So, every object that has a color has a tone. Every living object, meaning 7-dimensional being, rocks, minerals, plants, animals, humans, devas, higher beings, can be perceived as a unified tone, as well as color form.
I was speaking about dreams. In dreams, in dreams there's a lot of psychology in play, but there's also the ability to see the astral in some way. The colors are really different. There's some dreams or astral travel that can be done, to my knowledge, in places that are very dark and in places that are very colorful. So colorful that we can't really express it in terms of the color and the kind of color that we have here.
Right.
So, what is your view about that? Do you think there's specific meanings about dark places in the astral and very colorful places?
Normally, again, dark is an absence of light. Dark is associated with first chakra. Dark red or red, colors of the earth or the dirt being brown and black, gray, brown, black. Low vibration, right? Like on a certain scale, the vibration of root chakra is lower than the vibration of crown chakra. There really is a difference in terms of energetics of the 7 chakras. And so dark color or dull color would be normally associated with negativity. So negativity, being an absence of light, would be associated with darker colors in which there's less light. Brighter colors, like what you're wearing, or very bright, which is lovely, has more reflectivity. You see, that's the thing, is that a brighter color is more reflective of light, or a richer frequency. I don't know how to, rich is not a good word really, but I don't have the right words for some of this, but there's certainly a greater living quality to colorful than there is to dark and dim. So negative beings or states of high blockage, negativity, if we call it, polarity understood as positive, negative, can be understood in many ways. One way is service to self, service to other, or the 2 paths. So the 2 paths start in 3rd density and go up to 6th density, and service to other positive and service to self negative. The positive path, service to other, or service to all, really, is one of unity and love and unity. The negative path is really about separation and control, not unity and not freedom, not love and control being opposite. So the positive path is one of acceptance, which is love, and freedom, which is non-control. And the negative path is one of control and affected by blockage, affected by restriction, affected by limiting the range of expression or limitation in general. And that's why it's about control. Control is about restriction. Obviously, it's the opposite of free creative expression. And dull colors, dark colors, are associated with less livingness, less vitality. Less vitality isn't bad, but it does manifest less light power, while a full range of color shows more light power. That expression of greater range of full light power or light frequency is freedom, or is akin to freedom, or non-control, and unity, of course, and non-oppression. And so darkness is always associated with limitation or restriction. It's also associated with less life, right? His eyes are dull versus the baby's eyes that are bright and shining, right? A baby's eyes shining because there's full of life. What is that life? That life is basically the spark of infinity manifesting as light, or intensity of light. Now, therefore, color is more akin to light, while darkness or dark color, brown, black, gray, is associated with less light or less life quality. So there's, one life, one light. All is one. That one is light, love, light. That unified love, light, love is life. One life. That one life is all there is. That's creator or creation. So the creation is a unified love, light field, or infinite creative expression. That is life. Its nature is infinite color, or infinite vibration, or unrestricted motion, or freedom. That's the nature of life. That life, or quality of livingness, is better expressed in color than by darkness. And darkness is associated with a restriction of life, or the expression of love light. So a free expression of love light is more akin to the one free will life, or the one life of creation that is free. The one life of creation that expresses itself as freely moving, freely active love light, or light love, is more akin to a range of color, and is less embodied in darkness, or lack of color, or those associated with lower first chakra, brown, black, gray, dark red. And so, but that's about reflectivity, Black, brown, gray is less reflective of light, or light love, than a range of color, a greater range, starting with orange, yellow, and the colors. That range of color that really starts when you get out of the dirt, of black, brown, gray, is associated with freedom. It's associated with greater reflectivity of light, which is light love. So it's associated with greater love. Greater light equals greater love. Lesser light equals lesser love. The intensity of light love, or the intensity or reflectivity of light, is akin to the intensity of love, or freedom, or sentience, or sensitivity, or livingfulness. Right? So rich life manifests as variable, or a free range of light love. And so there's the connection, is that, the greater the degree of light reflectivity, the greater the degree of love. And that is associated then, or more resonant with, the condition of the one life, which is free power. Power expressing itself creatively, freely, infinitely. That's more resonant with color. than it is with darkness, and more resonant with the positive path than the negative path. And for those on the negative path, or places of scary fear, pain, confusion, suffering, the darkness that we associate with those states of mind, or those locations, and in dreams, and those people, and the colors of clothing maybe, are all associated with less love light.
Can we say then that to help people heal would be to put more color in their life? The color
It would be to help. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it exactly that way, but I think that I would agree with the main idea. The condition of non-blockage, which is basically second, third chakra clearance, because we're really talking only about second, third chakra blockage. So healing equals clearance of second, third chakra blockage. That healing would be associated with comfort and acceptance and enjoyment of a greater emotional range, which would be a greater range of love, or light love, which means color. So appreciation, greater love development means comfort and not only acceptance, but comfort, enjoyment of a greater range of light. Now, it's not that, enlightened guys walk around wearing rainbow shirts all like that, and it's not that people who are very happy with wearing rainbow shirts are all enlightened or anything, not at all. But emotional freedom would certainly be freedom, meaning non-repression or non-blockage of the emotional, which is really second, third chakra, would be associated with comfort or enjoyment of a greater range of color. So what I would say is that when people are less blocked, they're more comfortable with color and a rainbow type array. In terms of helping people, the work would be to help people enjoy color, to help people through their fear or resistance to color, which would be something, and there are people who do that, like the therapist who says, well, I think you should wear a bright colored shirt. See how you feel wearing bright colored shirts, because you always wear dark clothing. The person who wears dark clothing, normally, negatives do that too. Negatives wear cloaks. They normally don't wear brightly colored clothing. They wear dark red, they wear black and gray, they're mottled brown. They're not, they come in hoods. Because light equals light love, and love is what they have to control. They have to control their own love, which is their own sensitivity. And they have to control their own heart, or subjugate their own natural acceptance of what is. They have to block the communication to soul, which is a big deal. And so darkness or heavy colors is restrictive to the range of feeling, more so than bright colors. But using color to help people, there are many ways of doing that. One would be to suggest somebody wears bright colors. Another one is to do work like the 5 Buddha families of meditation in colored rooms. Another is to put yourself in nature, in which there's a large unbroken field of a single color. Staring at the ocean, basically sitting by the ocean and looking out to the ocean for a long time. Sitting in the mountains and looking at the forest or the mountain green for a long time, for hours, as long as you can. Sitting in, looking at a single color of blue or green, lying on the grass and looking up at a blue sky for a long time. Not for 5 minutes, but for an hour, for half an hour, as long as you could, really. So staring at the sky, looking at the sky, looking at the ocean, looking at a forest, even looking at a desert, actually, can be peaceful and lead to some release. But a broad field of a single unified color is very rare in this world. And that's an interesting esoteric point. Normally, you really have only got the sky. A cloudless blue sky is the largest expanse of a single uniform color you've got here. After that, you've got an ocean, but it's in motion because there are waves and water. So it's akin to the sky, but it's much more personal and physical and emotional and material and 3D and transient and impermanent and all the qualities of change, which are normal life. But getting out of the life of body-mind, we can look at the sky and see the nature of mind, not the contents of mind that are changing, but the nature of the mind that doesn't change, the awareness that is, the light of mind that is uniform, like the cloudless blue sky. Uniform in a way that an ocean certainly isn't, nor is a forest with trees and color distinction, and a desert too, although a desert is more uniform. So on the one hand you've got a desert, the other case you've got the sky, and in the middle you've got the forest and you've got the ocean. So one is your brown desert, which is very uniform, because you've got, at best, just like little grains of sand, zillions of grains of sand, which makes a pretty uniform color, and that's your earth. And then you've got the sky, which is even more uniform, but blue, which is spirit. So you've got one is body, the desert, the other one is spirit, the sky, or the nature of mind. It's really more like a cloudless, it's really the night sky. The night sky really shows spirit, the stars in the sky. And the daytime sky shows the nature of mind, being unbroken blue. But within that, you've got the two more human representations of forest and ocean. And that's about it. But to be with any of those locations, or to gaze and contemplate those, would be healing too.
Thank you. That was beautiful.
You're welcome.
Thanks. We talked about colors and music therapy. In music therapy, you say that some music, some vibration can vibrate within the body and help shake a little bit some blockage that we have in lower chakra. I was thinking, I heard also on the internet and through different people that some people hear sounds in their head, and so if music can be helpful, hearing some sounds that may be not beneficial to the individual, do you think that people that hear sounds in their head, there's a specific meaning? If it's on the right side, on the left side, or what do you think about that?
Well, I'm not sure exactly the question, because hearing a tone in the ears, the right ear, the left ear, has a different meaning or is different phenomenon than hearing music in your mind, right? Mm-hmm. So normally, like Ra talked about and other metaphysical sources understand, a single tone in the right ear or a pressure change in the right ear, a pressure, spatial air temperature or air pressure change experienced in the right ear, or a tone in the right ear, is normally a sign of positive contact, positive beings contact, like your guide, angels, helpers, higher self, soul, your spiritual community. While that same kind of thing in the left ear is negative, a sign of negative contact. So if you hear a tone in the right or in the left, or some pressure change in the right or the left ear, try to remember what you were just thinking or feeling the moment before it occurred, or what was happening in your field of awareness. It would often be that what you were thinking, what you were feeling, the process in your mind, or the interactive process with the environment or another person, is noteworthy in some way. Noteworthy because the negative entity wants to play you through it, through your thinking, through your interaction, or a positive entity wants you to take note of it, and it's significant for your understanding. That thought, that line of thinking, that emotional process, that insight, that interaction, if it's heard on the right, if it's associated with the right ear tone. So a right ear tone positive, left ear tone, or sound pressure change negative would be a sign, one of those ear sounds would be a sign that you should pay attention. On the one hand, there's a potential problem because you're getting negative contact. So you better know what you're doing because you're getting into trouble, or you're going the wrong way, or they're trying to encourage you to do something that's going to hurt you. It's bad for you or other. Or positive, right ear, take note because this is important for your own development, to know, to recognize the significance of what is happening in your mind or by the interaction for your own evolution. That's why there's a right ear tone or action on the right ear. Something is important here for you to recognize. Hearing sounds in your mind is a different matter. Sounds or music in your mind. It can be simply a memory. It can be mind control technology being beamed into your mind. It can be the result of imbalanced mind development. In the case of meditators, somebody who does meditation, or somebody who does a lot of study, or somebody who's working to develop their mind through spiritual practice of any type, there's a balance between the powers of concentration and the power of detached recognition. So in Buddhism it's called shamatha vipassana. Shamatha, related to the word samadhi, is a kind of one-pointedness, focused, concentrative awareness, concentration of mind or focus. That's what happens when we're watching the breath intently, or we're staying with the mantra. The mind becomes one-pointed, or awareness becomes one-pointed by focus on a particular object. That's the first stage of meditation, shamatha. Samatha, leading to samadhi, it leads to trance, it leads to absorption, it leads to certain higher states of consciousness, but it doesn't necessarily lead to insight. And insight is the second function of mind or awareness, which is basically detached recognition, detached non-grasping awareness, mindfulness. So mindfulness is vipassana, or insight. Mindfulness is the word sati, which is a kind of non-grasping, fluid capacity for recognition, fluid awareness, non-grasping awareness or recognition of phenomenal change, of what is or what's changing, and the nature of what is eventually. So, shamatha vipassana being concentration, mindfulness. Concentration is a form of mindfulness, but it leads to absorption. So shamatha, or concentration, or one-pointedness, leads to the trances, but that doesn't lead to insight. Insight, or vipassana, comes from prolonged mindfulness, sati, which is this non-grasping, non-concentrated, non-focused. It's alert, but not focused in a rigid way on an object. It's the capacity to recognize the flow of phenomenal events in the mind, or what appears to be change. It's an awareness, a recognition, a non-grasping awareness of what appears to be changing. while shamatha or concentration is a single one-pointed focusing on a particular object or what appears to be an object. Now, when shamatha is too strong, the person may likely go in their mind turning around little phrases, like little musical ditties, like advertising slogans. It happens to many meditators. They can't get this song out of their head. It happens to people, normal people too. But for a meditator who's developing awareness, where on the one side there's the capacity for concentration, or shamatha, samadhi, trance, one-pointedness and focus, and then on the other hand there's this non-grasping mindfulness, sati, fluid awareness of what appears to be change, there becomes an imbalance whether one or the other is stronger at any one time. When shamatha concentration becomes stronger, it's very possible to have sounds turning around in your head, or music repeating around and you can't stop it, particularly if your mind is strong, but the imbalance is strong. When there's a strong imbalance in the favor of concentration, the person can't let things go. When there's a strong imbalance on the side of vipassana or sati or mindfulness or non-grasping awareness, the person can't concentrate. So a person could be spaced out because they spent too much time detaching, or they're attached to detachment. There's a grasping of non-concentration. It's a grasping of diffuse non-recognition, or a grasping of non-conceptual awareness that isn't focused in any one particular place, but is aware of the flow. In that case, the person could be spaced out and have nothing in their head, or they can't think very well. So, like I had this experience years ago, and I probably would still have it now, where if I'm in a class, I had this in class in college, if I put my tongue here behind the top of the mouth, behind the top front teeth, in that minor chakra position, which links the upward channel up the back and the downward channel down the front, microcosmic orbit, whatever they call it, the two major nadis of up the spine down the front. If I put my tongue there, which was what we do in meditation, I couldn't think. I couldn't actually listen to what the teacher was saying. I couldn't listen. I couldn't hear. I mean, I heard it, but I couldn't make sense of it, because the mind went immediately into a kind of sati mindfulness non-conceptuality. The capacity for conceptual following, conceptualization wasn't there, because just my tongue up there was associated with mindfulness and non-grasping. So I couldn't think, actually. And so I had to make sure my tongue was not up there during class, because I couldn't understand what the teacher was saying. Likewise, I've had the times where I couldn't get this song out of my head. It just goes round and round and round and round and round and round and round. And in that case, I would just join in with it and sing to myself, and not make a big deal out of it.
Really?
Yeah, sure. Don't fight it. Resist ye not evil. So I would just let myself, because it didn't work to say, stop thinking that, this stupid goddamn, advertising ditty. But I would just go with it and say, okay, whatever, and sing it along, and then it'll stop. Yeah, you see, the mind is basically, the mind is sort of like a thief. It's sort of like a fox and a thief and a cockroach. If you go towards it, it goes away from you. If you go back, it comes towards you. The mind works on certain dualistic principles. And advertising knows that, and lots of smart people and negative people know that too. So that's why sometimes a small sound is much more powerful than a large sound. That's the principle of homeopathy. A tiny, 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 tiny material manifestation, which is really more non-physical than physical, may have a very big physical effect. Likewise, a big thing may have little effect, because the person sort of counteracts it by aversion or detachment. or a very physical treatment may have no effect, while a very, very subtle treatment may have a big effect. One word has a great effect, and a whole opera leaves the person sleepy. So, in terms of these two powers, again, if a person is stuck in music, sounds that are circular, turning, spinning in the mind, it can be because there's been too much concentration and not enough detached fluid awareness. Then, of course, there are other causes for sounds in the mind. There's, psychopathology, and there's psychosis, and, schizophrenia. Then there's also mind control, or technologies that can beam sounds or words into people's mind, in their head. And then there are all sorts of other esoteric things.
Tools like TV also.
What? In what way?
Oh, in terms of frequency.
Mm-hmm.
It's like hearing electricity running.
Sure. Electricity has a sound. Yes. Actually, if you ever go into a forest or far away from any electricity, you hear that there's something in your ears for a while. It takes a couple of days, maybe, even to end that.
Humming or something.
Humming. Yeah, there's a kind of...
Yeah.
That's sort of the background sound or vibratory signature, after effect, imprint, echo of all the background sound of civilization. So it's a great thing to get out of an electric grid where there's no electricity anywhere nearby. It's very difficult, but any of that can leave echoes in the mind of sound or music. Sure.
We are at 1 hour. Do you want to make a break?
Yeah,
Short break.
let's do that.